these highly trained people, they're going to go crazy. You know, they come home from combat and their wife's screaming at them and they just kill them. So that's going on. He was about to be sent to Iraq. I've read they don't put people in Iraq on anti-malaria drugs. They do in Afghanistan. So I don't know. I mean, there's just too many factors, too many pieces of the puzzle at this point for myself to be able to come on air and tell you concisely that I know what's going on. I don't. Okay? I don't just sit here and make up conspiracy theories for no reason. This guy could have been just a lunatic psychiatrist. They are the number one profession to be committed. They are the number one profession, the highest level of suicide of any profession, of any professional field. They, of course, are the number one medicated group. Doctors and medical workers, number one, are the number one group, according to the Justice Department and other statistics that are out there, to abuse drugs because they have access to it. And then of that group, psychiatrists and psychologists are at the top of the chart. I mean, they are at the tip top of the capstone of using their own poison that they dole out to children and women and people that have car wrecks. Oh, you're depressed because you broke your collarbone and arm and smashed your face in. Here, we'll put you on a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. We won't tell you that the drug insert says it causes psychotic breaks and mass murder and delusions of grandeur or extreme depression. And then now they have Prozac-type drugs for Prozac-type drugs. They stack them. They advertise that, oh, you're getting depressed or wanting to kill your children on Prozac or on Luvox or any of these other 100-plus drugs. Oh, well, we have these other drugs that go on top of that. But nowhere. I did a lot of web searching this morning. Maybe Kurt Nimmo or Paul Watson can find it, or Steve Watson can if that's the case, or Aaron Dykes as they listen right now. But perhaps listeners can email in to showtips@infowars.com right now. You know, the power of the group out there is amazing when it comes to research. But is anyone discussing whether or not this guy was on serotonin reuptake inhibitors or other antipsychotics? Because that's what these are. They're in the hallucinogen family, the psychotropic family, which is in the overall antipsychotic family. And they actually make you go psychotic in many cases. 99% of the mass shootings are women drowning their babies in bathtubs or driving cars off cliffs with their children in them or chopping their children's hands off or slitting their throats are on Prozac family of drugs. So he's a psychiatrist. They say he'd been having mental problems, had been written up, was trying to get out of the military. I would say there is more than a 99% chance. I would be surprised if it didn't come out that this guy was a complete Fruit Loop. Now, we still have to ask ourselves, why were we hearing about two other shooters? Why were we hearing that this deranged individual was... Why were we hearing that this deranged individual was dead for 4 hours from the time that the story broke? Why were we hearing that Nadal Hassan was dead until at least 4 hours after? Let me see. At 1:30 Central it broke, and then it wasn't till 7:30 that the AP reported that, and it came over my iPhone. So that's more than 4 hours. That is 6 hours. So they didn't report for 6 hours that he was alive. And then they said they had these other people in custody, and witnesses reported multiple shooters. Or were people panicking and seeing military people that somehow got to firearms in their own vehicles or had firearms? And that's how we're getting these reports. We don't know right now. And the military lies so much The military brass lie more often than they tell the truth. So, frankly, we may never know. But he is a psychiatrist. He had been having problems and had been written up and was trying to get out of the military. And so, I don't know. I don't know. We'll get your take on it after we come back from this quick break. We'll talk to Skip and Steve and Paul and Mike and Connie and others. Toll-free number to join us, 1-800-259-9231. I do have other important news here today that we're going to be covering. We're going to get into the fact that the jobless rate tops 10% for the first time since 1983, and those are cooked unemployment numbers. We'll talk about that with Bob Chapman. So this is a massive jobless recovery, an oxymoron. They invent these new terms daily that are just absolutely asinine to anyone that has two brain cells rubbed together. We're also going to get more into this L.A. doctor allegedly faked exam for immigrants who had diseases to let them get into the United States. We're going to get into a host of other issues and your phone calls and talk about the big tea parties yesterday in Washington against the government takeover of health care. And all over the news, they called him racist. You're not allowed to be against socialist government health care. The media is going to play the race card because they're the real racists. They're the race pimps. It's just unbelievably outrageous. Stay with us.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones, only on the GCN Radio Network.
If you study criminology, a good investigator generally has been involved in investigations for decades because you have to have a wide knowledge of the criminal mind, and you have to have a wide knowledge of subtypes of criminal types, and then criminal groups and how those criminal groups have operated in the past. Because if criminals are one thing, if psychopaths are one thing, if control freaks and scam artists are one thing, they are repetitive. They are compulsive. They do the same types of things over and over again. They have signatures. And I will tell you that I didn't start the show saying this guy could be mind controlled. But the minute it came out yesterday that he was a Army psychiatrist and an officer, alarm bells went off everywhere. And then right down the line, alarm bells have gone off. But it could be, because more often than not it is, that he was on serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and I will say it again, the drug inserts of all those drugs, by law, we were called conspiracy theorists, 10, 15, 20 years ago when medical doctors came out and pointed out that Eli Lilly's trials in 1980-81 of Prozac caused massive increases in suicide and violent actions, including murder. And then due to lawsuits and that coming out in the last decade, 4 years ago, they started by law, first in England, then in Europe, now in the U.S. It was 6 years ago in England and Europe, and then 4 years ago in the U.S. By law, the drug insert says this can make you become psychopathic, kill yourself, kill others, delusions of grandeur, mania. I mean, the list goes on and on. Go read it for yourself. You can go to Prozac's own website and click on the drug insert page and read it for yourself. I mean, don't believe me. But pretty much everybody knows that these drugs aren't associated with, they are wedded to mass murder, mass shootings, killings, people killing their children. I mean, women in the history of the world never chopped their 2-year-olds' arms and legs off. I mean, that was just unheard of. Now it's a routine occurrence because this stuff puts them into another dimension psychologically, another planet. So it could be that. He could be a Muslim extremist. They do exist. There are Muslim nutballs, just like there's Christian nutballs that go out, just like there's Hindu nutballs who do go out and shoot and kill people. There is such a thing as real terrorism. But none of the facts fit that. And then you have all the conflicting stories by the media. And the fact that they didn't announce for 6+ hours that he was still alive, and they said he was dead. On and on.